So when is a handshake more than just a handshake? When it's there to signify an allegiance to a secret society. When it's there as a symbol to let other members know that you're with them. All through the ages, secret societies have used secret gestures and signs to allow themselves to know one another, to let you know just who's in this pack. So when is a wave more than just a wave? When it's meant to signify something to those in the know, those who belong to the secret societies. Now most of you think these are guys that just dress up in silly outfits and ride around in little scooters. They may seem innocuous enough. But Tex Mars has compiled all the information to let us know the secret hidden codes of the Illuminati and to show us that it's not all fun and games. Well, welcome, Tex.
Well, thank you very much, Freeman. It's great to be with you.
It is great, Dad.
And I know you're having a great impact in this area. In fact, on the internet and so forth, all throughout America, people are beginning to talk about the Freeman perspective, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, 1,000 pictures is worth what?
Well, yeah, a magnitude. And I do have over 1,000 pictures in my new book, Codex Magica. Many of them are incredible pictures from ancient manuals and textbooks of the occult, going all the way back to pagan mystery Babylon. But of course we have the incredible numbers of politicians, financiers, bankers, entertainers, probably the elite of this world who we have, well, let's just face it, Freeman, we have caught them in what is basically an occult ritual, and it's sort of a we're in your face type of thing.
Absolutely.
They're taunting the American public and saying we can carry on occult rituals right before your eyes, and they're saying you, the public, are so stupid and so ignorant you won't even know what we're doing. And that's why I'm glad we're going to inform some people, and they're going to discover what is going on before their very eyes, and we're going to expose, well, let's just put it in an old Texas term, these rascals.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have gathered together a few hundred images here for us to look at and talk about.
Great.
And,
great.
I opened it here with them giving a sign and the salute, because you opened your book with the salute in your military career.
Well, Freeman, you know, there's certainly nothing wrong with a military salute, and as an Air Force officer myself, thousands of times I saluted, and it's a sign of a greeting. It's a sign of, well, it's in a sense it's a sign of superiority, officer over enlisted too, and of camaraderie. But I also noticed this, that there are many people who make the salute in a different way. You know, some very crisp and military oriented, and some sort of lackadaisical. But you know, when a salute is a salute, regardless of, you know, this or that, or, you know, the various forms of it. And so in this book, I tried not to be dogmatic. I understand that in the process of talking and interacting in daily life, that our hands may end up in funny places. And so I don't want to stretch the facts, but what we're going to see, I know, in this series of slides and images, we're going to see hand signs quite often that are improbable. They're not by accident. They're designed on purpose. They are a form of occultic or satanic art. And you know, it's interesting. Marshall McLuhan, the famous Canadian who wrote about the media and how the media was able to brainwash people, he said something I thought was interesting. In one sentence, he stated, "The police state is now a work of art."
Absolutely.
And I think that's a fascinating thing. Are we going into a police state? And you're showing some things here, the Nazis and others. We see various hand salutes. There's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Surely he's not giving the Nazi salute, is he, Freeman?
Well, he loves the Nazis, and his father was SS, and
yes.
he wants to be dictator of the world.
He did say it.
The only difference that I see between Hitler giving his salute and Ashcroft and Bush and Billy Graham is that they're smiling.
Well, yeah, and smile they should. After all, look at the success that they're able to. You take Graham, of course. In 1966, he was at the House of the Temple for the 33rd degree initiation ceremony. This was reported to me by Jim Shaw, who went on to renounce Freemasonry. He was initiated as a 33rd degree Mason. So Billy Graham is a high-level member of a secret society. This is how Billy Graham became famous. This is they make these people through PR. They own the media, and they're able to manufacture personalities.
Absolutely. I see this, and I see it over and over again, and we're going to cover so many of these people to see how they create these type of mindsets. That's really what it is. It's a mindset that people are being placed into. And so now we're seeing open Satanism around us all over the place.
That's what it is. It is a form of Satanism. Now, remember, people in many of the secret... Well, there's an example right there. Pat Robertson, you see that as a very irregular... People don't pose for a picture with their hand looking like a claw.
Right.
And of course, this has to do with the one of the Masonic signs, in which he's basically saying that if I divulge the secrets of the order, may my breast be torn out and put on top of a steeple, and the vultures tear at it, and all. So he has taken a hideous, just grotesque oath in his Freemasonry, and so this is the sign. Now, interesting, that very photo was placed on the cover of Time magazine when Pat Robertson of the 700 Club ran for President of the United States.
Wow.
As a sign to all those out there, I'm one of you, and ha ha ha, aren't we putting one over on the public? But you can see
we'll go to the next
the look on his face, and you see the claw. I call it the claw, but actually it's the fellowship or the fellowcraft degree of Freemasonry. Yeah, there it is. This is from an old Masonic manual, Freeman. As you can see, the drawing. In the book, we use Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, Mackey's Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. So many textbooks right from secret societies, Rosicrucian manuals, right. The Order, the OTO. So many of the occult secret societies, we use their own drawings and manuals. So you can't deny that Pat Robertson is giving that sign. It's right out of one of the secret society manuals. He is a member of that secret society.
What about Joseph Smith? He was also a Freemason.
Yeah, Joseph Smith, of course, was founder of the Mormon Church. He was an occultist. And you see some of the members of the Mormon Church with their little Masonic-like aprons on in their various ceremonies, and they're giving the same hand signals and body gestures as you will find in the various Masonic orders, because Joseph Smith and the boys were all Masons. If you go back in history and you research the first Masonic temple, for example in Novo, Illinois, you'll see all kind of Masonic sun signs, moon signs, because they worship these various astrological deities. And this was the early Mormon church. And of course, much of it is now hidden underground by the LDS or Mormon church. But we did see some of the exact hand signals of the Mormons.
And now each of these signs are a penal sign, discussing that they, will cut their own throat, rip out their tongue, or cut out their bowels and hang it in the...
Exactly. And everything you said is absolutely true. Now I'm a Christian, and the Bible says that we're not to take oaths, especially these hideous oaths. And of course, it's interesting, all of the disciples and Jesus himself said that they did nothing in secret.
Right.
Everything they did was in the open. We as Americans should demand this of our leaders, that they do nothing in secret. Everything should be in the open in a free and democratic country.
Absolutely. But we're dealing with an order of death.
Yeah. We see this. This is probably in Germany, the Death's Head Corps of the Gestapo and so forth. And of course, the Death's Head has been barred by the Order of Skull and Bones as one of their symbols, as you know, with John Kerry being a member, right. Senator John Kerry, and George W. Bush, and his father as well. So here we have an occult brotherhood of death right here in America at Yale University. 15 young men, only the elite. I mean, if you or I went to Yale University, even if we could afford to get in, and we had the influence to get in, we're not going to be able to join. We're not going to be tapped, as they call it, for the Order of Skull and Bones, and live in the tomb next to a cemetery. That's where they live. They live adjacent to a cemetery for their senior year, and they're sort of outfitted and prepared for the world, and then they become the high-level executives. And that's why George W. Bush, when he ran for governor of the state of Texas, he had no opposition. No. The minute he chose to run, the Bush dynasty went into operation, and all the other people said, we don't want any part of that. We don't want to make the Bush dynasty mad at us. So these people have favored lives, you see.
And knowing this crew, I really believe that H.W. would have used some ritual and also psychological warfare on his own child to bring him up in a particular...
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure of that. Many of these people have all kinds of rituals and requirements. I believe that many of them in their mansions, and I have proof of this, have various satanic idols and even altars set up with black candles and worship Baphomet and other false gods. And it's so incredible because we see them, Bill Clinton, he takes his Bible in hand, he walks over to a Methodist church down the street from the White House when he was in office on Easter Sunday. Right after, of course, he had sex with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office, he goes to church. But in fact, these people are members of the Bohemian Grove, the Order of Skull and Bones, and they do various hand signs, have various rituals, and they're not at all Christians. Not at all.
Not even close. See, I found this picture of Jesus giving a hand sign. There was an article about Jesus being a Freemason, and they...
Oh, is that right?
But we know, of course, that the Templars and the Masons have a large deal to do with building cathedrals.
They do, because there's such a thing as occult or sacred architecture.
Yes.
And I noticed on the intro to this program, a tremendous job you did showing some of the buildings, even in downtown Austin, with some various messages embedded in the very architecture.
Yes.
Of these buildings. So it's interesting, if Satan is prince of the power of the air, a demon, if you will, a devil, then is he not flying in the skies above, sometime looking down and saying, "Isn't it wonderful? The world is patterned after my design." And the Masons, of course, call themselves, they say they worship the grand architect of the universe. Yeah, here's the Pope. Notice the Pope John Paul II, Freeman, behind him is an upside-down cross.
Yes.
Well, isn't that what Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan had? Yeah. Upside-down crosses. Is that not a symbol? That's not a mistake. He has cardinals, he has advanced men, he has front men. They arrange the altars and the thrones and all these things. So he doesn't just go in there and they've made a mistake and they put the cross upside down by accident, you see.
Well, that takes us to their God. They are finally informed later on Well, here we have the secret hand sign of John.
Oh, yes. Now that's an interesting one. You know, remember Napoleon?
Yes.
I don't know if you have a picture of old Napoleon.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you put your hand like this.
There's George Washington.
Regrettably, George Washington was a member of this group. You know, I used to see Napoleon giving this sign, and I said, well, maybe there he is. And you see that in all the famous paintings of Napoleon. And Freeman, as a young boy, I said, well,